Okay, everyone, we're calling this take 2. The people have requested Ashley and Mel back on the Shit Stick of Life podcast. Whoop, whoop! Ladies, you're popular.
Happy to be back.
How have things been going?
Other than everything, I think great.
Other than everything?
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a backyard reno.
Yeah, because you're having a birthday party.
Yeah,
There's
sorry.
nothing like a party to motivate the actual work.
That is a good motivator.
Okay, well, I have to tell everybody that we got here a few minutes ago, of course, all fashionably late, including me. But the very first thing we said was, hey, Mal, how are you doing? And you said...
I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly, but I think I got dragged on the internet last night.
She got dragged. And Ashley said, what's dragged?
I actually said you got drugged.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said no, dragged.
So explain what dragged is.
Brought into something that was a false narrative, but it was slanderous.
Were you being slandered?
Yes.
Over what? Without giving this person any power.
I mean, honestly, it was just a made-up story. And I think that's why it was so harmful, is because it was not true.
Who do we need to beat up?
Well,
Just
I
tell
mean,
us.
that's not the correct
It's not the correct response?
retaliation. No. It was, I will say though, it was really, really hard to not defend myself. And I chose not to engage because I felt like that was the more kind thing to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I did use it as a tool to teach my son about bullying.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You turned a negative into a positive.
Yeah.
You're very responsible.
I don't know about that.
Well,
Every now and then we get a win.
the other day we were also talking about a certain somebody who will remain nameless, and I didn't want to give this person any power.
Right.
Even though we have so much to say about it.
Sure.
But I just have to say, this was another reason you have girlfriends in your life, because I laughed my ass off on the phone with you, even though
That
It was great.
I love that we have that ability.
I know. Basically, Ashley was like, hey, why don't you have Mel look into this and watch this thing and then call us, because basically she's going to be comic relief with her responses. And boy, were you ever.
I'm so glad.
Okay, so today on the Shit Stick of Life podcast, because we have all been hit, and I've been doing some really heavy episodes lately, I needed a break. So you guys are the break. We are coming up on Mother's Day, and I wanted to have my two favorite mothers in the room. So we asked people for some questions, and they are all over the map. I mean, people have asked us about sex. They have asked us about motherhood, about friendship, about teens and lies, choosing the same path again. If you need to bow out of the conversation, Miss Therapist over there,
To use some discretion.
you can use some discretion. Although I'm sure if your clients heard you, they'd be probably cheering you on. So where do we want to start?
I really like and I don't think that my mom would have been the one to prepare me for this, but we'll ask it like this. What is one thing you wish your mom should have or would have prepared you more for adulthood?
Ooh, so what is it?
I think I was thinking about this today, and I think mine is that once you have kids, that you will never sleep again. Kortney, I know you're a really good sleeper.
Yeah.
I do not sleep well.
Yeah.
And that was because of kids?
When I had kids, when I got pregnant, obviously late in pregnancy, I was like not sleeping, and then it just never
Came back.
No.
Actually, a lot of people, and some of the questions aren't on here. Actually, a lot of people asked us about that,
Sleep?
about sleep. And I didn't put them on because I do sleep well, so naivety is bliss.
I'm a terrible sleeper. Terrible.
Are you?
I am sad because I do feel like it was something I could have gold medaled in. You know what I mean? Like
Before kids?
yeah, like I feel like I'm sad that that's not my special skill now. But like I remember on jobs, like I could fall asleep in the middle of noise, and now I feel like I have to have my satin pillowcase and, the sound machine and all of the things, the magnesium, like eight kinds of magnesium. To like make
She
me
went
fall
on a
asleep.
girls trip one time
Yeah.
and had a satin face
Yeah.
mask, and I'm like, we're
Well,
in
I did
different
train
territory.
myself to sleep on my back like a vampire, and that's for wrinkles.
Okay, so I want to talk about this sleep on your back like a vampire,
Yeah.
because Kenny, my co-host, sleeps on his back like
It
a
tracks
vampire.
that we would be the same.
Of course, yes. But I am having major lower back pain right now. That's actually, I'm in pain right now. That's why I'm not moving.
You look gorgeous in pain.
Oh, Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you for that. But I have one of those patches on my back right now, on my lower back, those
Mhm.
white patches. I don't know what it's putting in, some sort of toxin in my body, so I don't feel. But it's because I'm sleeping on my stomach. Now, before you bitch and complain to me about sleeping on my
No.
stomach, I'm staying at an Airbnb because I'm filming right now in Toronto, and the bed is awful. Condo's great, bed is awful, and I find myself tossing and turning, and I end up on my stomach. But man, oh man, I am all of a sudden not sleeping. It's attributed to this specific bed, and it sucks.
Me too.
Really?
And listen, I'm a stomach sleeper. I try to be a side sleeper. No way am I ever going to be a back sleeper. And there's no amount of training yourself. I just can't sleep on my
I know,
back.
but have you seen her skin? She trained herself, and now her skin looks like that.
Listen,
Listen, I mean, it was something that had to be trained though, because I was a stomach sleeper like all through high school, and like that was like one of the things. But I then did so much research and realized my wrinkles were being caused by sheets, amongst other things.
Okay, so what for you do you wish your mother had prepared you better for?
I actually don't know. I mean, it's so hard for me to put myself there because I think because of my trauma, I had to learn so much on my own. So it's very hard for me to picture that kind of thing. I also think I'm okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I'm okay without it, and I feel like I've grieved
The
that
loss of what
I
could
won't
have
have
been,
that
yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Or that I won't have that information. And I feel like there have been people that have come alongside that, you know, have given me the wisdom or, prepared me in a different way for adulthood.
Mm.
My mom was the eternal optimist. So a lot of people out there are like, oh, that's amazing. But she, because of that, and that the mentality of you can have it all,
Mm.
you should have it all. It took me a long time before I realized you can't have it all at once. So therefore, you can't have it all. But like, I can't be a stay-at-home mom and a working mother. I can't, I can't have it all at once. I can have it at different times. So I worked myself into the ground, thinking that I should and can have it all because of that mentality. I've been very careful to say to my kids, like, hey, if you're not great at math, you probably, can't be a scientist or an astrophysicist. Like, that's just the reality. Lean into the things that you absolutely love. Don't label yourself too soon.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, we were talking about sleep a second ago. So, what's one part of your body that felt like it never came back after motherhood?
One, I mean, I feel like I'm a melted candle. You know what I mean? It's like, so, I don't know, there's just one.
Emma's laughing in the background. Emma, you can laugh out loud. We're okay with it. She's 22, so she doesn't get it yet.
I just wish I would have appreciated 22 more than I did.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't like so beating myself up in my 20s for something that was just
Because we were skinny and hot and cute.
100%.
And her skin was
And
tight.
here's the deal. It's like I'm hot now too,
Yeah.
but it's like I think I long for that younger self to know
Yeah.
that she was what she was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like all of this like body shame and hate that I
Yeah.
feel like filled my time. Like I could have been using my time so much more productively than hating my body.
Case in point, she just said, everybody, I'm hot now too. And I think some women who say that, we judge them for saying that. We say, oh my God, does she think she's all that? And I've been attracted to people who say stuff like,
Yeah.
I'm hot now. I feel good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get to tell the truth about ourselves too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's your truth about yourself?
I don't think that my body, it didn't perfectly bounce back after pregnancy, but where it really took a turn, and I just mean a different turn, was in my mid 40s.
Yeah.
Boobs now are like golf balls in a tube sock. And I used to be have a real, like a six pack, and now it's not
I feel like you still
possible.
do.
No.
I see. Yeah.
It's just,
Like
I mean, I think the reality is that I can try and try and try and try, and it's just not gonna. My body
Embrace
is
who you
not.
are, embrace
Yeah,
where you're at.
be where I am.
Yeah. Okay, Mel, you get to pick a question.
Ooh, 19. Do you ever schedule sex? Yes.
Do you?
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, this came in a couple of times.
I think it depends on your season of life,
Yeah.
and it sometimes it's just the way it is, especially if you have a kid that like is getting up in the middle of the night, or like like you just feel like your schedule is off, or there's not those times that you're alone are hard to come by, or you're exhausted,
I
at
can't
night.
picture Maddie. Like, how do you schedule it? Like, do you put it in the calendar, or you just say, "Hey, tonight's the night, tomorrow morning," or what?
They put a sock on the door
No,
so that
definitely.
Elvis doesn't come in.
Definitely not that. It is during the daytime.
Ooh, that's fun.
It is fun, and that's why I think I enjoy the
Oh man, it's like while he's at school or whatever.
exactly.
Oh man, that's kind of sexy. It's like you're having an
Totally.
affair in the middle of the day with your own
Exactly.
husband.
Exactly. So I think
do
some
that too,
people think of it as
Yes.
like I think some people think of it as like a calendar ticky tack, and it's
Yeah.
like no, it's just like want to come home for lunch, you know what I mean?
Lunch, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
It got to the point where people on our shoot would be like, "Oh, we saw Blake's cart too. Did you guys have fun?"
Stop it.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Right
love
before
it. I
pickup.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so have you ever done anything like super risque, like you see in the movies, where you show up to work and you've got like a trench coat and there's nothing else on underneath? Or I saw a movie recently. I don't
Like to his work?
100% no. He works at a bank, and that might be, I guess, you'll have a little bit different work situation.
Me?
No, Quentin Rye.
Oh, I was like,
He works at a bank with windows all
hey,
around.
Maddie's office is all glass.
Yeah.
so-
okay. Bad.
Yeah, no.
But it actually is a funny thought.
It is
Well-
actually really funny.
Yeah.
Just because it shows how much movies are not real.
Well, they can be real. I'm just saying. I've had,
Sure, I'm
definitely
sure
had some moments with Ryan where I've surprised him. And I was going to say we don't schedule sex, but definitely he will say, I have said before, well, it's a shower night for me. And like, hey, you want to like go to bed early tonight? And he's like, oh yeah, which is probably not very hot to say that. But
Why?
I don't know, because I guess we don't need to say that, but the reality is life is crazy busy some days.
Right.
And-
I think the way you pursue your partner is like in all ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Have you ever told a friend you liked her husband less than you actually do?
I don't know what that means.
Because you don't lie?
Probably not. But also, I don't like you're telling her that you do like him and you really don't.
Well, for example, they say, so do you like him? Or do you want to hang out? Oh my gosh, yeah, like my husband loves your husband.
Oh,
Sometimes
interesting.
you say things, I've learned this in my 40s not to do it, but sometimes I would overtalk. And now I understand that saying nothing is also acceptable and not exaggerating anything is acceptable. So I feel like I have done this. Not recently, not in my 40s, but in my 30s for sure, I would maybe even pretend to like a girlfriend's husband just so that we had a couple to hang out with, which I don't know why I did that. but-
Yeah, I think there are times that we will do things with couples because there's something about the dynamic that is like we're getting something. There's something life-giving about it, but he may not be my favorite person. But I'm not going to tell her that I like.
because I know she's thinking about something.
I'm not
I
gonna.
totally am.
I'm not gonna tell the friend that I'm not crazy about her husband. I'm just not gonna say anything.
I feel like I've definitely like rooted for girls to not date the person they're dating.
Oh,
Probably
that's
more.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably more than the married one. You know what I mean? Like I definitely.
You're more honest. So when they say, "Do you like him?" you say,
Usually, if they're not
Red flags
married,
or-
yeah, or like,
"Are you sure you want this?"
yeah, or just be like, hey, like, I don't know, I didn't love the way that he said that to you, or like I feel like I get really aware of how they treat my friend.
Okay.
I like the one that where to meet a partner dating in your 50s. And I will say, I can't speak to this personally, but I have had friends who
I was gonna say from your experience.
no, but I have had friends who are older than me who have recently done this. And I think it's interesting because it is through a lot of friendships and connections. Like that's how they've met like a second partner.
Another dinner party,
Yes.
another get together,
Yeah.
come to the Halloween party.
Right. It hasn't been online, like where I feel like 20-year-olds, that's probably more of an online.
Well, I met Ryan on
Right.
Match.com at 40 under an alias while I was filming in Toronto under the name Amanda after our friend Amanda. I just gotten off the phone with her, and I did ask. I was like, "How do you meet people in your 40s?" And she was like which website or which dating site?
Yeah.
And that was the one that she chose, and Ryan was on it. So
Yeah.
it can happen a lot of different ways, but you do have to put yourself out there, and you can't lead with fear. So a lot of people say, could never do that. In fact, I was just with a girlfriend in Toronto who I'd gone to middle school with. We are opposite of each other. She's more introverted. I'm extroverted. She's, never been married, no kids. I'm obviously a big hot mess. So, but she does not do dating sites, but she also would like to date.
And I think we talked about this before, but I think at our age, doing the things that you already naturally enjoy doing.
That's a great point.
Like if you like to hike, then
Hike.
hike.
Yeah.
Meet someone and they're hiking. I mean, there's all sorts of groups, hiking groups. There's a running group,
Yeah.
East Nasty running group. There's
Yeah.
because if you're not somebody that is like I don't go to the bars a lot, then don't go to the bar to find,
Because it's probably not going to be a match.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't go to the hiking group.
You would not. There's not enough sunscreen for the face.
What would you go to?
I don't know. Is there like a fashion one? Like a makeup
Gay men.
Yeah. I mean, hey.
A costuming
Yeah.
costuming club.
Yeah, exactly. No, I will tell you like the funniest story. Like Maddie and I had just been married like weeks at this point, and I was still under that impression of like I'm supposed to do the wife things, and like I don't know what that means, and like we're very newly married, and so he wanted to go on a hike. And we go, and it's like 100 degrees. Like, I mean, like, maybe it was 99, but we start hiking, and I hate this. Like, already I hate it. And we get, like, maybe 3 minutes in, and I have a complete meltdown, like a toddler, and I scream, I effing hate this! And I was like, but it's fine, we'll keep going. And he was like, no, I think we should turn around. Like, I think we shouldn't keep going. And I'm like, no, it's fine. He's like, no, we're going to go get a Sonic. Let's like go get a Sonic. And like, it was just so life-giving because I was a toddler and he was like, we don't need to do this.
You're a match made in heaven.
Well,
you felt seen and heard in that moment.
Yes. Well, and it was just funny because he was like, yeah, no, I think we need to exit. I think we don't continue on. But yeah.
But you're active though. That surprises me that you don't.
I am active. It's the heat, really. I grew up in the heart of the humid, swampy South, and it's just not where I want to be. I like AC.
And Ash would be the opposite. She'd be like,
I would live outside.
I'll see
That's
you
right.
like riding a horse. I'll see you, playing pickleball. I'll see you, whatever.
I don't know where it is on here, but I read it. It's something to the effect of, would you rather be labeled as a stuck-up
Oh, I saw that.
mom or a hot mess?
Hot mess.
I mean, the thing is, I'm gonna be labeled the stuck-up mom because I'm not gonna be the hot mess. I think I'm a hot mess.
In my 20s, I was the stuck-up mom because I was much more rigid than I am now.
I think if others are judging me, they would tell me that I'm the stuck-up mom. But I feel like that is not my truth. However, if it's between the two,
I'm the opposite. So I think it's more than my truth that I would be labeled the stuck-up mom. So I wish that they would label me the hot mess. But as the stuck-up mom, it's easier to judge me for anything that I do wrong.
I just think externally, I'm never going to give off the hot mess mom, but internally, I'm a hot mess. Do you know what I mean? Like my anxiety, my like emotionally, I feel like
Out of control some days.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's like externally, I think I don't present as a hot mess.
What about you, Ash?
I would rather be considered a hot mess, and I think I would definitely be perceived more as a hot mess than a stuck-up mom.
Well, you're not a hot mess, but you're definitely not a stuck-up mom.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a stuck-up mom.
No, but I feel like when I was going through the divorce, let me back up. I feel like when I was married previously that I was the parent in that situation, as we all know. And so you overcompensate in your role or for the lack of, the other parent
Right.
parenting. And so that became harder on my kids and harder on me. I think that we have to talk about that. Like, the kids don't recognize these things until way later in life. Why is mom being so rigid? Or why is mom saying no to these things? Or why is mom's ruling sort of cut and dry? But it's because you're overcompensating. And I'm not sure if there's a workaround for that. Like, it's one of the probably the hardest things to navigate in divorce, because whatever was really hard in your marriage does not get easier in divorce.
Right.
I actually feel like you have changed a
I
lot
agree
since
with that.
parenting younger kids. I mean, I remember a time where it was almost Tiger Mom. The kids
Yeah.
were doing piano and Chinese and all the
yeah.
things. And then I think, again, you get hit by the shit stick and then you start to pick your battles. And
Actually, I think if I had parented with somebody like Ryan, or Ryan specifically, I probably would have been more chilled out
Mm.
because I wouldn't have had to have carried that role.
Yeah.
We were so opposite. So, like, Ash, you probably hear about this a lot from people, like when you marry the opposite of you, and then you don't have these conversations about how you're going to parent. But like so I want to hear about that. But before I do, like, when Ryan came in, he's so honest and he's so calm and he's so relaxed. He's not manic. So Dave was more like manic in his approach. He wanted the kids to be happy all the time. And I thought that they didn't have to be completely happy all the
Right.
time. I thought there were lots of life lessons in saying no to them.
Sure.
But I also think the honesty part, like, Ryan would have had my back, right? So Ryan would say, hey, listen, your mom and I feel this way versus your mom feels this way. And, you kind of have to listen to her, which isn't a united front.
Mm.
Thoughts?
I agree.
Totally agree.
Really?
Yeah.
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 And unless there's something that's fundamentally, I mean, if we've talked through it and over again, we're in different places, then I think the best thing is to be a united front. But there are some things that maybe I'm like, I'm not sure about this one, but Dad feels pretty strongly about it, so we're going in that direction, or vice
Oh, I
versa.
love that language. Any other good language like that we're using these days, ladies?
I like that a lot, Ash.
Because sometimes you don't
Because that
know.
shows support. I mean, it's basically supporting your partner, even though, and maybe you don't even have an opinion. Maybe it's just, I don't really know what the right thing to do is, but your dad thinks it's this, so we're going to go with that,
Yeah, wow. What does that feel like? Definitely don't have that. Now I parent Lennox on my own. The boys are like adults, but it did say here, number 9 here, what did the stepdad thing come easy to Ryan, or was it something that took time? I don't think Ryan ever saw himself as a stepdad. So I think he came in as just another honest, chilled human being with no game. So he didn't want to step into the role of parent. He didn't want to step in the role of friend. He just was. And so by the nature of him just being who he was naturally, the kids all all connected with him for different things. Ryan likes to fish. One of my kids likes to fish. One of them likes to golf. One of them's into sports. Like, Lennox, of course, just wanted attention that wasn't made up or wasn't shiny and bright. But rather just calm.
I will say, I feel like I had a front row seat because Kortney was so generous and let us stay in her back house while we were renovating our house. And so I felt like we were just front row for this
Divorce?
new relationship.
Or the
Yeah.
new relation-
Well,
yeah, the
both.
divorce.
Yeah. It was kind of like right in the middle. But I loved watching Ryan because he was so intentional with care for you and your fam. And it's like, I think it was just really sweet. And he was always, cooking and fixing and taking a kid here and picking somebody up and just so joyfully.
He isn't. Even the other day, I was opening the pantry and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we have way too many Takis. This stupid snack that's disgusting."
Trust
And,
me.
and I was like, "Ryan," he goes, "Court, Lenny loves them." And, whereas I might have been like, my God, these are disgusting and not good for her. He's like, just let her have them. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Because he's also cooking really healthy things. That's what I'm talking about, where that balance comes from.
But the intentionality behind him taking note that she likes it.
Oh,
Like,
Sally will be
that's
coming
so
back from
sweet.
college and he's like, oh my gosh, I need to get some more protein, or I need to get, what are those little cheese things in the packages like that?
Oh, the
Baby
Baby Bells.
Baby bells.
I love that we both know that. Baby Bell. They're sitting in my
Ding.
Yeah.
right now.
So, or steak, because I don't eat meat. So he's like, the boys are back. We're doing steak tonight.
I just wanted to say one more thing about like the motherhood piece, like for me, because I identify with kind of that. I feel like motherhood's changed me so much. And Ash can speak to this. I was very performance oriented, very type A, and I think the gift of my son, who is neurodivergent, has required that I slow down because he needs me to slow down. And he is loved on when I'm calm. And so that has been such a shift for me to have to unlearn a lot of things that I was taught gave me value and find the value in how I parent differently.
I love that.
Than
'cause I
how I
parent
was
completely
raised.
differently as well.
Yeah. And so I think there was permission in motherhood to change. And that was an unexpected kind of gift of motherhood for me,
It'll be really interesting to see how our kids change, how
Yeah.
they parent, because everything evolves.
Right.
And what do they take with them? Because I've never met anybody who's like, I parented just like my mother or
Right.
just like my father. Everything was perfect.
Right.
We're screwing up our kids somehow. I just don't know.
For sure.
Absolutely.
No question.
Absolutely.
It's funny because Sully, I was recently telling Sully that a child at Lenny's school got caught smoking weed and is, well, allegedly. And she got kicked out of the school. She goes to a private school, and that's the way that it was. Well, Sully's school, everybody was smoking weed in the bathroom. It was a public school, and he was like, "That's ridiculous," and blah 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 blah. And and I was like, "Well, I certainly don't want Lennox to try it because I don't want her to get tested at the school." Anyway, this brought in this conversation, and he's so super chill about it. My son Jet, I believe, would parent completely the opposite, very rigidly. Like he said to me, why did you let me quit piano? Why did you let me quit Chinese Mandarin lessons? And I'm like, how did I end up raising these two boys that are so opposite?
different.
So
Right.
we really, we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they're going to do the best they can. And then they're probably going to screw everybody up. This is a very specific thing. It says, my 17-year-old wants to have his girlfriend sleep over. He essentially lives in our guest house. I want him to move back inside because he's sneaking her in there. She's only 15 and her parents called and asked me to supervise when she's at my home.
I'm just so thankful I don't have a teenager right now.
I do
It's
have a
really-
teenager.
I know. So I'm really glad I can just kind of sit back.
Yeah.
And,
Here's what I think about where I am in parenting right now, because I have a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old. The 20-year-old talks to me about everything. So
Yeah.
I have found out so many things. I found out some things real time, but now as a 20-year-old, he's like, oh, let me tell you about this. And by the way, let me tell you about this. So I, in spite of my best parenting, have found out things that have gone down.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say. There's so many things that we don't have control over, even when we have boundaries, consequences, all that. I think that maybe the things that we do have some control over, we go ahead and implement. Like maybe you do need to come back in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's 2 a.m. and I'm asleep and I've done all the things I can to have boundaries and you end up sneaking out, I don't have control over that. But what I do have control over is having some safeguards in place. I mean, it's the whole thing of like,
Yeah.
are they gonna sleep and have sex in my house, or are they gonna do it outside of my house? Yeah. Well, I have some control over what goes on in my roof, but I don't have a lot of control of what goes on outside of my
This is so
house.
hard. I mean, we're probably going to get a lot of messages about this because everybody's going to have a different opinion. I was kind of in this situation. It wasn't happening with a child that was 15 at my house, but it was happening elsewhere, and I didn't have control over it, and it was really tough. I would say when there is a kid that's only 15, it is a game changer. 17 is different than 15. 18
Agreed.
is different than 17.
Agree.
Once they're 18, it's a different story. So my parenting is different now at 18, or he's 19, than it was 2 years ago. And 15, let me rephrase, if my 15-year-old went over somewhere and she was staying in the guest house, I wouldn't be okay with it.
Same.
So I would expect that parent to tell me or ask me if I'm okay with it. I would not expect to have to ask if they are staying in the guest house. To me, we're afraid to parent right now because they are just doing it somewhere, or they like could do it. But like the end of the day, there's just still opportunities to have conversations with our kids to say like, hey, she's 15. Do you understand the legalities if something happens? Do you understand, like, these are things we don't necessarily talk about. We, we send them to school. We talk about, how to read and like how to write and how to, do these math equations, but we're not talking about real life shit.
Yeah.
Like the legalities of, getting a girl pregnant who is underage and what can happen. Can you go to jail? Can you not? Both sides, by the way. And, or like, even further than this, how to just live. We've got a bunch of teenagers who don't understand that when you use a credit card, you have to pay off the credit card.
Right.
So like we have to start taking the reins as parents. This is coming on the heels of the rigid talk, or whether we're chill or rigid in our parenting types. But like, I think parents are scared to parent.
But I think that boundaries are different than being rigid. I think boundaries protect kids whose brains are not fully online. Like they don't have the executive functioning to make decisions about if it's okay to be sleeping in a guest house. And that's not judgment, it's just factual. And so as parents, we have to make some of those decisions for them, which are just boundaries.
I say putting your kids having sex in a room while you're gone, you're late from work, is very different than putting two of them in a hotel room together and allowing it to happen and saying, you know what, I'm going to reward you with this. I'm going to say whoever wrote this, we're keeping it anonymous on this one. But no, you call the parents and you have an open discussion. And then if they're okay with it and you're okay with it, I certainly wouldn't be, then you put it in writing. I would go that far with a 15-year-old and say, so just, per our conversation, just making sure you're cool with this. Because otherwise that conversation didn't exist. And if something happens, I don't know. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. That's what I meant. They're going to do things outside of my house that I don't have control over, but I can have some boundaries around what goes on underneath my roof.
Mel, I too have learned recently, or Ash, of some things that went down, under my nose. And I was shocked, but also it was a great opportunity because we're still parenting teenagers, 18, 21, whatever, or 19 and 21. It was an opportunity to say, man, I'm sorry that you didn't feel comfortable coming to me with that.
Right.
Or I'm sorry I wasn't available to you to come to that. I wouldn't have been okay with it. But I'm really glad you feel safe with me now to talk about it.
Yeah.
And, what would you do differently as a parent? I just had this conversation with Sally. What would you do differently? And that's a hard conversation or a hard question to ask when you're doing a role reversal. So sometimes I feel like my best conversations with my kids are like, how would you handle this?
Which I think is so amazing because I think when I have given feedback to my parents, I usually get, well, we did the best we could. So it's really like, it's not an open dialogue for like, well, tell me how I could have done it better.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you're even having that conversation is so great.
I was telling Ash the other day, I was at a college, we were at a college fraternity party, mother-son fraternity weekend. And I was having sushi with Sully and something came up in the conversation and he was talking about some trauma that had happened in the last couple of years. And actually last few years. And I said, hey kid, I'm really sorry about that. I feel like if there are things that I need to apologize for, I'd love to be able to do that. So if you can talk to me. And he started tearing up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think we need to talk about this here. And I was like, well, we don't have to talk about it here. But if you want an opportunity to talk about it, I'm an open book now because I want to be able to grow together. Yeah. Well, let's just turn this on its side. Where's the weirdest place you've ever had sex since having kids?
Oh. Since having kids.
My husband is extremely private, so I will bow out of this question.
Bow out. Are you a part of the Mile High Club?
Oh God, who can fit in that bathroom?
I know. That's what
I can
wanna
hardly
know.
fit in the
I can
bathroom.
hardly fit.
I don't
I
understand.
mean, I have trouble wiping in there sometimes because
I
it's like I
know.
can't get my
You
hand.
said wiping.
I did.
Just
I mean,
say that.
seriously.
You said wiping.
There's not even elbow room.
I have no idea why anybody on God's green earth would want to have sex on an airplane. It is the
Also,
most disgusting place that I can think of.
They've talked about the water. The water is like, do not touch the water, do not drink the water, do not anything. So what are you going to do upon completion? Like,
Can I just say something?
no.
I feel like it's because we're in economy. Like,
Like that.
like,
We're not in first
we're not in first
class.
class. Like, I feel like the bathroom's bigger, maybe.
If you're on like one of those actual first class trips across like to Europe,
Yeah,
and you have your own bath,
I
like
feel
you're
like it's pretty spacious.
and pretty clean.
I think the
Would you do it
Southwest
there?
bathroom is not ideal. Do you know what I mean? But I do think that there are other flights that people are taking that might be a little bit better than the ones that I'm taking, and maybe that's where they do that.
Man, I gotta tell you, one of the hottest things. Ryan's gonna kill me. He's so private.
Oh, boy.
Oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh goodness.
Sorry about this, Rye. There's no wine involved either.
I know it's like middle of the day.
Do I tell this? Okay,
We can
I
always
was like, yes.
we were in Mykonos, and Ryan on our honeymoon. We did a trip across several countries, and Ryan and I rented one of those like, I don't know why I had to do the wheel thing to describe this if you're watching, but what are they called? Like not a trike, like a quad. What are they actually like a bike, like a thing?
Courtney rented her own piddle tavern.
Shit, what is it called? You know, like a quad with like 4 wheels and an open wheel.
Like a side-by-side?
Side by side.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys call them side by sides in the South, but they don't call them that in Canada. I
Still
don't.
don't know what we're talking about.
I know. I wish I had a
Open
side-by-side.
wheel thing that she used to have at her
A four-wheeler.
4-wheeler.
Yeah, except it's like
okay.
it's way bigger than that. Yes.
Got it.
Okay, anyway, we went up a mountain and he's an ex-race car driver, so he was driving crazy, but I also felt completely safe. And he
I'm nervous.
he drove up and I was prompting, like I was copping a feel basically while he was driving.
She was soliciting.
I was soliciting him. Yes. Not thinking he would get so like maxed out that he would pull up on the top of a mountain and throw me on the ground in the best possible way. We would have sex on the ground on the dirt road on the mount or on the dirt road on the top of the mountain. And it was unbelievable. And we get up and I'm like, because I mean, it's still a road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing out here. And we look down and there's a big fence. It's like their prison. That we're right on the cusp of the prison with all of the cameras.
It's the
And I
best
looked
day.
at him and I was like, oh my God, we're going to jail. Like if somebody sees this.
No, I mean I feel like they enjoyed the show.
Oh, they got a show.
Yeah.
They're still talking about that today.
Baby, I'm
I thought
really
you were gonna
sorry,
say that
Ryan.
You were like doing it on the 4-wheeler. Like
Oh, we did that too. We did that too later.
during the drive?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive, honestly.
Yeah.
I have a
we
lot
did
of
that too.
questions about that.
I do too. Like
Did y'all do a tick check afterwards, just in case? I'm just imagining.
I think the whole thing was a tick check.
I think it was. Let me see if you have one here, or
Here,
there, or here,
there.
or here.
My mother-in-law is going to hear this, y'all. Would you choose the same path again if you could go back? In any way, like same path period, the path you took. Because there's a lot of talk of like, I have no regrets. And then I recently heard an awesome podcast. It was Oprah, and it was talking about being okay to have regrets. In fact, we should have regrets.
Right?
Yeah.
You've lived a perfect life with no regrets. Interesting.
Oh, interesting. But why do people say that? When you have a child, and then, like, for example, I have 3 kids with a man that I eventually divorced, it's really hard to regret children. So by regretting marrying the person, it feels like you're regretting the children. Why do we struggle with this? Because even I do. Because I regret getting married. I really do. Especially after listening to this Oprah podcast, I regret it. I regret, being married to a man I didn't trust. I didn't know I couldn't trust. But I love my children.
I think there's a difference. Maybe there's a difference in regret and wanting to change the past. And what I mean by regret is, gosh, it's caused a lot of heartache. And I'm just throwing this out there, but that I wouldn't necessarily change it because I wouldn't have the life I have today, but that there can be regrets around choices that were made back then that have caused pain and suffering and heartache.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just wondering if we're talking about if you could go back and do it differently, would you?
Did
Yes,
you
I
see
would.
that movie
Okay,
in the
you would.
90s, Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yes.
So that movie rocked, changed my life, in a
What is it
way.
about?
So you see what happens if she gets on the subway versus if she misses the subway. And the movie is showing you two different lives, basically.
Oh my gosh.
And that movie, impacted me in a way that I don't know any other movie has ever impacted me.
How? How did it impact?
Because you start thinking about things that feel inconsequential, like you didn't make that, or you ran that red light, or you made things that are seconds difference, and what trajectory did that?
What if?
Yeah.
What if?
And not even a what if, but I do feel that I had this life that I could have gone one way, and I would have had a completely different life. And I went this other way, and there's no way that those two lives would have ever intersected. And that's kind of crazy to think about. I wouldn't have my girlfriends, I wouldn't have my husband, I wouldn't have my son. There's just no way, because they were completely two different, two roads diverged, as the poem says. And I think about it a lot, and not that I long for that path that I didn't choose, but I do think about it.
Do you have regrets?
I don't know that I'd use the word regret. I have curiosity.
Mm.
I don't.
Do you believe we have other lives to live?
I am very open.
Yeah.
I am very open to all possibilities, but I do have curiosity around, and that can be just any choice, frankly. Something that feels, I'll never forget when I was in my 20s and I had 2 job offers, and Maddie and I were just friends at the time, and I was just struggling. I didn't know what to do, and he goes, sometimes it's not a right or a wrong, it's a right and a left.
Ooh.
And I
love that.
loved that, and I use it all the time. And I do think about that a lot, but then sometimes I'm like, well, then what would have the left choice been? How would that have impacted me? How would it have changed my life? It's just a
And
curiosity.
had you gone left, you would have been wondering how.
course.
Right, exactly.
Of course. Yeah, so I think it's just curiosity.
The other day we always joke something was happening to me. That's a terrible way to say it, but happening. And Ash and I were talking, and she said, I don't know what the hell happened in your last life.
I said, I don't know what you did in your last life.
I don't know what you did.
All the things.
Yeah, to deserve all these things. And we say that a lot, but then sometimes I have to pause and go wait, what? Maybe I did live a bunch of lives.
I mean, I don't know.
I know. I don't know either. There has been a lot of talk. Also, I love Oprah's podcast, so I've been listening to it a lot. About microdosing and not microdosing, full on dosing. What do you call it?
Psilocybin trips?
Yeah.
Are we talking about ketamine?
Yeah,
Okay.
ketamine.
I don't know what dosing we're talking about.
No, ketamine and psilocybin are different things.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's psilocybin then.
Yeah,
because-
you're talking about psilocybin, I think.
Did you listen to it? The
No,
podcast?
but I think, so there are ketamine clinics that are actually legal. And then they're doing a lot of studies about psilocybin and doing psilocybin trips in order to help with a lot of mental health issues, lots of different things.
Yes.
But that is not technically, my understanding is that's not legal.
Yet.
Yes, yet.
Yet.
in this country. There are other countries that are doing it.
I have been invited on several occasions to go somewhere to have this type of experience. As you guys know, I haven't even smoked a cigarette in my lifetime.
But
Not
like
Mother.
different than ashwagandha or something.
Yes.
Yes, different
Okay.
than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone is raving about this stuff right now. So how is that different than microdosing? What do you know about it?
What I know,
What is microdosing?
microdosing is very, very small amounts of mushrooms or psilocybin that are used, regularly, like on a daily basis, to help with things like anxiety and depression. But you're not
Gotcha.
tripping.
You're not tripping.
You
So
are
this is
not
completely
tripping.
different.
It's still not legal in our country, which, whatever.
Wait, microdosing?
Mm-mm.
I thought it was legal in Tennessee, or was about to be legal in Tennessee.
Well, it's not now.
Okay.
Any sort of anything, no, it's not legal.
But I'm curious, is weed also something you microdose? I just don't know.
think.
Yeah, I
that
don't
it's
know.
no, I don't think you necessarily. I mean, my weed is basically like, depending on if you do edibles, you can do less or more. There's higher
Okay.
dosage, less dosage. Like that's.
But Ash, I'm hearing about therapists in other states microdosing.
Oh wait.
Well, there
So
are
what-
plenty of people doing it,
But it's not legal?
it's not legal.
No way. They're talking like
Let,
it's
let me say this: it's not
totally
legal in Tennessee.
It's not legal in Tennessee.
It is
Okay.
not legal in Tennessee. It
Got
very
it.
well may be legal in Washington, Oregon, Maine,
Okay,
but it
got
is
But
100%.
completely different than these other things that we're talking
So
about.
what you're talking about is a planned therapeutic psilocybin trip,
Okay.
which they are now
It's
doing a lot of.
guided.
Yes, I mean there are plenty of people that do mushrooms and trip, but what you're talking about is with somebody who is a therapist or some sort of healer.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in this, I'm trying to think of what.
Here's my website.
Well,
Here's no.
yeah.
Just for the record, I do not do plant medicine, but I do know about it. But they are showing like people that are struggling with
I
end of life
know.
cancer, with
Not
PTSD.
just that, veterans are doing
PTSD,
it for PTSD,
yes.
and they're having great success. And some of these, very sought after therapists who've written so many books against this are now coming out with more information saying this is a game changer. Anyway, I've been listening to so many podcasts lately, and this is coming up, and I just thought, I wonder if my friends know.
If anybody's interested in learning more about that, I think there's a 4-part series on Netflix by Michael Pollan. I think it's called How to Change Your Mind.
I think that may have been the guy actually that Oprah had on. Okay, ladies, would you rather, to wrap this up somewhat rapid fire, 0 sex for a year or 0 alone time?
0 sex.
This one's really tough.
I didn't think this was going to be tough for you at all.
Well,
What
did you think I was going to say? No, I would say 0
0 sex for a year or 0 alone time?
I think 0
Really?
sex. I think that I would not be I wouldn't be very healthy either way, but I really wouldn't be very healthy if I didn't have alone time.
Okay, for me it would be 0 alone time.
Not surprising.
No, probably not. Would you rather your kids hear you having sex or walk in on it?
Here,
Yeah, I would say here.
Would you rather relive childbirth or middle school?
childbirth, 100%.
Childbirth.
Mine is childbirth. Yeah, middle school sucked. Would you rather go to a PTA meeting hungover or host a sleepover with 8 kids?
Definitely PTA meeting.
Oh, I'd rather host a sleepover.
I'd
Are
rather
you
host
serious?
I am not a big fan of a hangover.
I can do a lot on a hangover.
It's her. See, what happened was her superpower used to be sleep, and now it's functioning at 100% on a hangover.
Especially at a PTA meeting. Are you kidding? I can come up with a raffle hungover. Are you kidding? Like, I'm so sure.
Quickie with the door unlocked or schedule it a week in advance?
Week in advance.
Week in advance.
Preferably in a hotel
I'm a
with
quickie
a
with the door.
wonderful bed and breakfast.
And
I'm
a late
quickie with
checkout.
Yeah.
I'm a quickie with the door unlocked. Have sex with your socks on or
Wait, did you say you're a quickie with a door? unlocked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. In fact, I've already embarrassed Ryan once. I'm not going to actually do it twice.
I wonder if it's the marriage time frame. like you're still very newly married,
Mm.
and I'm curious if that's at play. I mean, we're 20 plus over here.
No, you know what I think it is? I think in my first marriage, I was married to fun all the time.
Okay.
And so I reverted to the other role all the time. And in this
You
marriage,
get to have fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a different person. Like I'm just way more laid back
That's
and I
awesome.
way more live on the edge in this
Yeah.
marriage. So I think I'm going through life like, what the hell? Have sex with your socks on or never take your bra off.
Socks on.
Yeah. Socks.
Socks too.
I knew you would say socks too.
Yeah.
And then be too much or not enough.
Always too much. I'm always too much.
I'm
I mean,
100% too much. I would rather be too much than not enough. It's one of my
I
biggest
don't know that
fears is that
it's-
I die and I didn't do enough.
I don't know that it's what I would rather necessarily, but it is who I am. And I do feel like it's what everyone has always said, which has been negative and has been something I've had to like have therapy through to allow myself to take up space, because it's always been seen as a negative
Yeah.
to be too much.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I think that's because you feel like there's a label already attached to you.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but I think too, like whereas we talked in the first episode about how you've been attracted to people who are very like that, you know, like
Mhm.
I think you have to find your candle lighters, not your candle blower outers, you know.
Mm.
And so I just feel like that was always like a thing. Like I was told, you're too much. You know, you need to. Your laugh is too loud. You need to quiet
hate
down.
that for you because everything that you are is everything that I love.
I love you. Thank you.
Like
And I think I'm okay with it now. That's what I'm saying. It's like I prefer it now to be my full self. But I think growing up, like it was always just this hard thing to like try to like minimize.
I relate to that a
myself.
little bit.
Yeah.
I did minimize
did you
myself.
say?
What about you, Ash?
I think that I would rather be not enough, but I'm working on that because I really like to go under the radar. I just like to not just to keep myself small and in some ways safe. And so I'm working on putting myself out there more,
I feel like
taking more
you've
risks.
done that.
I feel like I'm doing it more.
Yeah.
So, what do you
So,
think
yeah.
that stems from?
I think that for me, being exposed to some degree means is risky.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
working on it.
interesting because you
Mhm.
probably help other people.
It's way easier
feeling-
for me, yeah, to champion other people and say go big. And it's not that I'm afraid of risks. Like I do adventure stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's more like
But you wouldn't
doing
post
it
about it.
publicly.
I was gonna
Exactly.
say, like, there
Doing
have been
it
situations
publicly.
where we're together and there's a great photo, and I always like where I would never ask Mel. I'd be like, oh, she's fine with it. I
Yeah.
would always ask you, are you okay with me posting this?
Yeah, I used to have a no posting policy.
Yeah,
with
you
people.
did.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, I did not. Yeah. I did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Even when we went to Whistler the first time,
Mhm.
skiing, she had it then, and I didn't post anything with her.
Mhm.
And then the second time, you had relaxed on that, which was awesome.
I'm very private. I'm private with the masses. Not that there are a lot of masses in my life, but I'm very, very real and honest and vulnerable with the people that I choose. And I'm selective to do that with, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm proud to be among those people. I think I am anyway.
Yes.
Thank you for being on our Mother's Day edition of
Thanks
The
for
Shit
having
Stick of
us.
Life. I hope there's more to come.
Yeah.
Please, everyone, comment and let us know what you would like to see on the next part 3 with Ash and Mel. We'll talk about pretty much anything, won't we, ladies?
Clearly.
Yeah, right.
Ciao, everyone. Love ya.
Bye.
Find new episodes of the Shit Stick of Life podcast every other Thursday. Follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.